Hi guys, this is Lashette from Scarlet Moon Creations, and I'm back with a new video for the Fairies Oracle mini study. This is activity number 9, which is to create or find your fairy guide. Like I said, we're working with the Fairies Oracle deck. You can, honestly, with all of these activities and things, you can do these with any Oracle deck for the most part, but maybe not this one because it's specific to finding a fairy guide. And not all Oracle decks are fairy decks, so there's that. This will be fairly simple. Obviously, I'll be talking to you directly, going over a couple of things in the guidebook and some other stuff you can find online. To find out more about the Fairies Oracle mini study, you can check out the links in the card above or in the description for the Fairies Oracle mini study playlist in the first video, which should be the announcement explaining everything. Or you can come find the actual post about the study where a group of us are studying together in the Facebook group Abundant Life Tarot. That is run by Kim. I will put a link to her YouTube channel, and which has the Facebook group as well in the description below. So without further ado, let's talk about creating your fairy guide. So with the Fairies Oracle deck here, the first card is card 0, kind of like tarot, and it's a blank card, just this white card, and I have washi tape on them for reasons. It comes off very easily. Should have done this beforehand, but it just says fairy guide on the bottom. There's nothing here. The guidebook doesn't really give you much info either because this is personal to you. I'll read what it says. First, there's a quote. Each person's sojourn in Faerie is highly individual and unique. Each traveler moves through a very different symbolic and emotional landscape. Thus, the meaning of a painting reveals itself only individually, changing from viewer to viewer. The 0 card, the guide. There are some keywords for each card. This one has guidance, direct communication with fairy. I believe once you've connected with a fairy guide individual to you, that those keywords may change or be added to. This card has been left blank for you to draw your own fairy guide on. Obviously, I have not done that. Some people may have a clear mental image of their personal guide to fairy, but if you don't have that yet, there are a couple of things you can try. First, try doing some loose sketches in a meditative state, asking your personal guide to help you draw. That will probably work. If it doesn't, ask to be given a symbol to represent that fairy, then just go with the first thing that comes to mind, whatever it is. By drawing your fairy guide or its symbol on the card, you're personalizing and attuning this deck, connecting the energy of the cards and the fairies on them with your own energy. Some people go through elaborate rituals with their tarot decks and oracles to get an energy connection between themselves and the deck, but that is unnecessary with this one. All you need to do here is to include your own fairy guide in the deck and everything is taken care of. Now, each card also has a starter reading and a reverse reading. For this card, it says starter reading. Both this and the reverse reading are something you will need to work on with your fairy guide. Please note that this, like all the starter readings on the other fairy cards, are subject to change without notice. That's how fairies are, and I think when you get used to working with that, you will find it is a very rewarding experience and fun. Reverse, this card reverse often means you aren't listening. It may mean other things as well, but that is between you and your fairy friend. So Jessica Macbeth, who created the guidebook, is giving you some starter ideas already for how to create and or connect with your fairy guide. Throughout this study, or I should say in the beginning of this study, we talked about this card twice already. And now we're here for a third time because some time has passed. We're working through this throughout the whole month of May. We're in the third week of May, towards the end of the third week. And unlike at the very beginning, you probably have a better understanding of the deck and the cards. So why not try again to create or learn more about your fairy guide, or learn who your fairy guide is. So I'm just going to go through some other ideas I have of what you can do. Okay, so piggybacking off of what Jessica said, you can try meditation. We did an activity regarding meditation, and maybe you've already tried that, but you can try again. With most of these suggestions, I think that trying again is a thing that will be a fact or a suggestion, at least for me, throughout all of them. Because why not? You can think of them this as similar to building a relationship or getting to know another human being. You don't just most of the time instantly click and know everything about them, or even just know a person just by finding out that they exist. So you have to try and try again, have conversations, and maybe read up on them, whatever it is, to get to know them, talk to other people who know them. So meditation, like the one in the guidebook, or that I gave you 2 examples of in the meditate with a card activity, visualize your guide in your mind's eye. What do they look like? What do they sound like? How may they guide you? These are questions you can ask yourself and them. Just take some time. It might be just a symbol like mentioned in the book, or which can build out to a full image or a fuller image over time. Who knows? Another idea is to do a reading to discover your guide among the Fae already in the deck. So you want to create a safe or sacred space around you. Do whatever you do before you do readings, but particularly like keeping in mind we're trying to enter the fairy realms or bring a fairy out here into our regular earthly realms, and that's a little bit different if you haven't done it before, so stay safe. But you can build a reading. I do not have a reading for you, but you can do a fairy style reading, which is in the back of the guidebook, or just go with the flow and your intuition. Shuffle your cards and ask them, hey, are one of you guys already in this deck of my fairy guide? There have been people who have said this. There is in the Eclectic Fairies Oracle forum or sub forum, I remember one person saying that Honesty was their fairy and they went from there. So maybe one of these guys is your fairy. See who comes up. When you ask that, then ask, how and where you can meet them to get to know them, what messages they might have to offer you, any symbols or anything. They after that, kind of try to make a plan to work with this fairy guide. And again, that goes for all of these suggestions. Once you create or find your fairy guide, you want to try to work with them, build that relationship, maybe create an altar for them or Fae in general, find a local spot that they would like to meet up with, like a local park or something in that vein. You can create your guide more like what the guidebook says, either directly on the card. You can draw it or paint. However, I'm not sure how this card holds up for painting, but I'm assuming drawing should work since that's the main directive. Use whatever medium works for you. Maybe you're a sculptor or you like working with clay, so go for it. Who am I to tell you not to? Maybe you're a digital artist and that works better for you, so go right ahead, do your thing. This can also build off the back of the meditation where you're trying to bring that Fae that you envisioned in your meditation or even in your dreams into a more physical format that you could see with your regular eyes. I also want to go back to looking in the decks. If you happen to have Brian Froud's other deck, the Heart of Fairies Oracle, you can try that. This is the guidebook, and these are the cards, the backs, and another, actually I think it's 65 again, 65 or 66. Some of those cards, about 2 or 3 of them don't have names, so like this one. And you can try and see if any of these Fae, whether they be unnamed ones or ones with names, suit you. These are almost completely different Fae from the Fairies Oracle, so why not give them a try? The similar artwork and style, because it's still Brian Froud's paintings. You can also try looking amongst his various books. There are very many books that Brian Froud has done with his artwork, so you can look amongst those. I'll show one on the screen here. Good Fairies, Bad Fairies has a lot of the fairies that are in the Fairies Oracle, but a lot that are not. And they're also not in the Heart of Fairies Oracle either. There is another book that I have here that is the Fairies, and that is a book he did with Alan Lee, a close friend of his who also does fairy artwork. So not only do you get more artwork, some of which is within the Heart of Fairies Oracle, but there are lots by Brian Froud that is not in either deck, and also by Alan Lee that is not in either deck completely. You can also check some other sources for Brian Froud's artwork, which inspired, he helped create with the movies and TV show Dark Crystal Labyrinth, and then Dark Crystal Age of Resistance, which is on Netflix right now. You can look up movie stills and some of the puppets and animatronics that are used in the movie to see if any of those might be your fairy guide. Andy Froud, his wife, is usually the one who has brought those his paintings into a more 3D form, and I do believe his son does that now as well, Toby Froud, or it might be another child, I don't remember at this point. But you can look into this very artistic family, particularly when it comes to the Fae and beings from the fairy realms, to see if they have any artwork of another type that's not paintings that may contain an image of your fairy guide. You can go, like I said, other places to find fairy artwork, any fairy image. Reminder for Brian Froud, I don't know that many of you realize this yet at this point of the deck study, but if you've looked at the deck just in general, and looked into Brian Froud's books and things, fairy are not all humanoid looking beings to him. They include trolls and pixies, redcaps, etc. Gnomes even. So remember to keep those in your brain when searching. But you don't only have to use Brian Froud's artwork. I already mentioned Alan Lee, another artist who does fairy artwork, but you can find many in video games, in TV shows, manga, manhwa, cartoons, anime, movies, etc. Just make sure, like I said, to note where the artwork is coming from. Keep a note just for yourself to credit the artist. If you ever share it, you'll have that information. If you ever need to find more artwork that is very similar or of the same character, you know where to go. Cite your sources as if this were paper. Not just the Pinterest link or the Instagram link. Usually that's not enough, particularly Pinterest. Most likely that's not the original artist who posted that. So completely other types of fae and different artwork. You don't have to print it out if you don't want to and put it on your fairy guide card, but you can. I know some people kind of balk at the idea of having a different art style, but it is what it is, right? If that's a problem for you, then don't put it on the physical card. Just keep it around somewhere, or maybe cut out a size that's similar to this and include it with the deck. It's up to you. You have options, right? Next, you can try looking for a fairy or character online that suits you, either an image that fits closest to what you envision in your mind's eye as your fairy guide, or one that catches your attention, your intuition, that sparks something that says, it's like, oh, that might be someone I need to. And that might be a fairy you need to get to know and not your guide, and that's okay. That's okay. You'll just keep going. I mentioned this in the group earlier in the month. I did not find my fairy guide immediately. It wasn't until 2 years later, and that was okay. It happened that way, and we've got a great relationship going that I've been happy to delve into deeper with this deck study. But it takes time. Some places where you can start searching online for artwork are Instagram, Pinterest, and DeviantArt.com. These are just the start. Often art is shared online without credit, so do please the right thing, which is to look for the person who actually created the art. A lot of people share and credits get lost. I know this is most likely for your private use, but it would help if you want to find other artwork that's similar. Artists often create characters, including fae and other fantasy characters, where they will do them in different poses and from different perspectives, and if you would like to see those, then it would behoove you to find out who the actual creator is, not just the one sharing. Particularly in spiritual, metaphysical, occult, tarot, oracle, fantasy groups, people will use artwork for other purposes, not the original creator, and you have to backtrack to try to figure out where this artwork came from and who created it. Google has an image search, and there's also the image history search engines and things like that that can help you. You might not find it right away, but do not stop trying. especially if you plan on sharing this image or telling the world that this is my fairy guide. And again, this is no shade to anyone, it's just, that's the right thing to do. Credit where credit is due, please. Lastly, you can build a character or build a fairy of your own. Again, going by intuition, whether you've envisioned something from a meditation that you've done, a symbol that came to you, or it's just kind of like the intuitive drawing that Jessica Macbeth was talking about in the guidebook what I read earlier. Instead of intuitively drawing, if not your thing, even digital artwork, you can build a character where there are lots of apps and websites that will allow you to do this for free. There are even more that will allow you to do it for pay. We'll give a couple of links, and again, all the links, websites and stuff I've mentioned will be in the description down below and in the Facebook post in the group. But you can try dolldivine.com. They have a fantasy avatar creator. There's heroforge.com and pickcrew.me. These are just a few samples of websites that let you create characters for free, and you can go ahead and do that to give your eyes a physical embodiment to look at. And just remember, guys, it doesn't have to be done all in one day or in a couple of hours. This is not a rush. I'm just giving you this activity today. It doesn't have to be done today. There's no set rules regarding what your fae has to look like. It does not have to look like Brian Farrell's artwork. It will be really difficult, so no one has that expectation. And just remember to create with intention. You're not going into this with no thought. You're going in this to create and or meet your fairy guide, particularly the one for this deck, though it could be for more than just the deck. So that's it for this activity. Those are some of my suggestions. If you have other suggestions, please leave a comment down below or in the Facebook post. I would really appreciate it. Like this video if you liked it. Subscribe if you are new. Hit that notification bell so you know when my next video is coming out. We have one more activity video coming. So we're creeping closer to the end of this study of this deck, and I'll be sad to see it go. But there will be plenty of other videos. I plan on doing deck studies for all of my decks. I don't have a lot, but they are here on these two shelves. And so I'll be sharing my journey with those, probably not in as much detail on this channel, and as well as all of my other channel content. And linked in the description down below is a 10% off discount code to my Etsy shop, where you can get all natural bath and body products for witchy and self-care purposes, as well as oracle and tarot card readings. And you can follow me on any of my social media, linked down below as well. Guys, thank you as always so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.